What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some r/relationships. I almost said am I the butthole. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And remember, you're always appreciated on this channel. Taking the time out of your day to come here and watch the videos, it means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And with that being said, let's get straight in to today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story comes from a throwaway account. Caught wife trying to cheat with my friend from her iWatch. I'm writing this from my phone, so bear with me if it's formatted wrong. So last night my wife of 7 years decided to have a chill out night. After dinner she went to the den and was watching her programs while I fitted between watching the Spurs football game and doing some odds and ends that I planned. Next thing I know, she's got the wine out and has had 2 bottles of the stuff. At around midnight I went to check on her and she was out cold on the couch. I went to scoop her up and her iWatch thing buzzed and a message popped up on the screen. It said something along the lines of, "Haha, I can't do that. OP would knock 7 shades of shit out of me." I wondered what the fuck that was all about, so I pressed on it and it was a conversation between my wife and a friend of mine. Now I wouldn't say this guy's a close friend of mine. Now he's someone I've played 5-a-sides with for years. That's football for anyone wanting to know. Drank with and have known since we were teenagers. We used to call him jacket holder because when we got into scraps as teens, he'd always be the guy holding the jackets, while everyone else went for it. Right, so as I said, I pushed on the conversation while this thing is still attached to her wrist, and scroll up to the top. As far as I can tell, it's him that contacts her first, unless she's deleted. There's lots of flirting and winking going on, but nothing that you could outright say was cheating. Then I get to last night, and when she's drunk she starts openly begging him for sex. I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. I'm paraphrasing here because I can't remember the exact words, but she was saying shit like how much she always wanted him, how no one would ever find out if he did want to do something, and then the last one that fucking killed me, that she was great at keeping secrets. I tried to scroll on her watch but couldn't find any other messages, and I don't know her phone passcode. I put her into bed and just sat in the kitchen in shock until I fell asleep. Then I got up for work at 5:30. When I went to get in my work van, I just slunk down on the wheel and realised I couldn't face it. So I went back in the house, grabbed a half-drunk bottle of vodka, filled to the top with coke, and went on a walk down the railway line. We lived beside a lot of woodland and disused railway line that goes for miles. I've walked about half the length of it. I'm sitting under a railway bridge like a fucking troll right now, just seething at the whole thing. You'd probably think there's a fire going on from about a mile away due to the steam coming out of my ears. So what do? I don't want to speak to her. I can't even bear to look at her after reading that shit. It was like a dagger through my heart. I just feel like every morsel of love I had for her has evaporated into thin air after reading her begging like that. Fucking yuck. I honestly want to ghost her, man. If I could, I would never speak to her again. The whole I'm great at keeping secrets was the thing that really got me though. Like, who even are you? It reeks, but it's a case of how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go. I don't care if I'm being honest, I'm just done. I've never felt so betrayed and disgusted in all my life. The thing is, I've invested in so much in her, not as a partner, but as a person. I loved her so much and thought her personality, and by extension, my personality reflected that of good people. To realise she's been a backstabbing snake makes me feel like a snake. I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. The only way I can describe it is for someone you looked up to, took advice and life lessons from, to suddenly find out they were a pedo or a rapist or just a downright creep. Your entire perception of yourself and who you are would be shattered because you took on board what they said and invested time into a creep. God, I'm rambling nonsense. I apologise. I'm lucky in that our house is owned by my parents, who 6 years ago moved into a retirement village and we moved in. The house will be bequeathed to me when they die, but I don't and hopefully won't own it for a long time. They couldn't be bothered with the upkeep and all the problems etc. and wanted to see out their final days in peace. So when we do divorce, my soon-to-be ex won't be getting her hands on it. So what do I do then? I'm honestly thinking of just not saying a word and throwing her right out. Also, while walking here, it went through my mind to get my mate who's a locksmith to quietly change the locks today. I could feed her any old garbage about something from the doors being broken. She won't care what's going on anyways, as long as I'm about. Then after he's done the lock on the front door, and tell her to come out and look at something out back. When she comes out, just run back in and lock the door behind me. That sounds childish as fuck, doesn't it? Ugh, seriously, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm staring at a bottle right now and my life feels like it's been ripped apart at the seams. As for that prick so-called friend of mine, there's no doubt he was up to something here. There's also no doubt I wouldn't have caught the wind of this at all, so I'll be seeing him very soon. Never mind holding jackets, he'll be holding his face. Edit to update. Have went to a friend's house to calm down. I threw the vodka away. She's been texting me asking where I am as my work van is still in the driveway. I text her saying there's a problem with the engine, so I got a lift to work. I'll make my move tonight. Wow, what a rough story, and what a way to find that out right. And the thing that she says, she's great at keeping secrets, and it just makes you think, how many other times has she potentially done this? Although I'm sort of relieved that he's thrown that bottle of vodka away and hasn't gone down that route. From anything if we've learned on Reddit, the first thing you do is gather your evidence. This is clearly a UK post as opposed to the US, but a lot of US advice is always gather your evidence, speak to a solicitor, and all that kind of good stuff to get everything in order before you do anything. Don't just change the locks and throw her out, because it gives her a chance to come back at you then. But let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. Chessboxing Cyclops says, that's rough mate, can't imagine what you're going through, hope you pull through. I can tell you're from the UK, and despite what Americans here may tell you, cheating doesn't really count for all that much in divorce, in England and Wales, don't know about Scottish, Northern Ireland law. My advice to you is seek some legal advice ASAP. If you can afford it then great, if not try to find local support through courts. They even have a phone service which can help you out with some info. Regarding jacket holder, what a bell end. If you hit him, you're letting yourself in for a world of pain. You'll be better off sharing the guy's behaviour with everyone else he knows. Do your best to warn all the other married men of his behaviour and what he's like. This isn't going to make him popular at all. Cutting him off from his friends will hurt him far more than hitting him. And hitting him is only going to fuck your life up. You don't need the stress of him pressing charges right now. Good luck and Godspeed. Some top advice in there. Current Trifle says, this blows man, I can feel your pain. You could go on telling yourself it was just roleplay fantasy and she wouldn't go through with it, but she sounded like she was willing to. At least you don't have kids. Yizzy says, I would collect evidence and contact the lawyer first before telling her anything. Rasper says in quotes, I feel like a worse person than I was yesterday. And then says, man, I know that feeling. First things, get sober, stop drinking, get on the water, you need a level head now. Contact a divorce lawyer local to you, arrange a meeting, may be wise to gather evidence, just because it's always handy to have. Once you've got the evidence, I'll just present to her what you know and serve her the papers. Get her shit out of the house and focus on healing. Get yourself to therapy and let your close friends and family know so they can support you. Play this cool man, keep your head above the water, don't sink to her levels. You're bigger and stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. You've got this, man. And there's some great advice there. God, I couldn't imagine going through that, being blindsided with that, finding out that way as well. Your whole life come tumbling down around you. What a dark place that must send you. But there's some good advice, and from the looks of it, OP has taken that on. We haven't had a proper update as such, but he's been commenting that he seems to be doing things the right way, or the best way. And now, let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments below. What do you think OP should do in this situation? And our next story is from another throwaway account. My husband, 39 male, calls me, 38 female, a gold digger in front of our children. My husband and I have two boys, 10, 6, and one daughter, 13. We both came from absolutely nothing. I met my husband when he was a senior undergraduate student. I told him about my dreams to go to school and become a nurse, and he told me he wanted to be a lawyer, but didn't think he could afford the education. When he got accepted to law school, I encouraged him not to turn it down. I ended up working as a cashier, babysitter, and one of the only female cab drivers in the city to support his dreams. After he made it to big law, I finally went to school and became a nurse. Because his schedule barely allowed him any time away from the firm, I took a part-time nursing gig at a school so I could be there for my kids. In the beginning, my husband told me he valued my contributions. However, soon he started saying that I didn't do much at all when he was in law school, that I just took a few babysitting gigs because I was apparently bored. He got exceptionally bad when he became a managing partner. This year, I caught him in an affair with his 22-year-old former paralegal. He claims that this affair didn't start before she left the firm. She is apparently supporting herself as a painter, which I call bull on, but I can't yet prove how much money he sent her during their time together. Both his and my families are very religious. They demanded we try to work things out. However, we did enter into a legal separation. He moved out into a luxury rental. We pretty much split it so the kids would alternate weeks at each house. He's made several half-hearted attempts to reach out and offer what I found were empty gestures to be a better husband. However, at the beginning of the month, he blindsided me by filing for a divorce and emptying out many bank accounts. He would call me angrily, saying it breaks his heart every time his mistress and her parents cry over the fact that she was basically living in sin, and I continue to live in sin for the sake of love. Since then, my kids have become angry and anxious. They have started telling me to stop being a gold digger, and my daughter said that it was her father's understanding that I was still latching onto my golden ticket, like I've been doing since I've met him. My youngest son also told me about the expensive gift he was buying his friend, and how his dad was sad that his friends, she couldn't live with them until I stopped bothering them. I tried to tread gently on the topic of them living with me more permanently, and my youngest son especially got angry and said I ruined everything. Now my youngest son calls me a gold digger whenever he's mad, and my older two kids constantly ask if this was about money and why I couldn't just earn it on my own and stop fighting. What do I do? I feel like everything I say just makes them angrier, and they are overly sensitive to anything that remotely paints their father as less than perfect, with the exception of my daughter, who dislikes my husband's mistress but apparently tolerates it because she's not living there. I've seen something very similar to this on TV once, and I can't remember what it was called, but it's basically manipulating the children to go against the other parent, and it's called to me and I can't remember what it is, but he's emptying bank accounts, turning the children against you, and he's going for a divorce. You know, he's pretty much just screwed himself over. If that goes to court, he's gonna be ripped a new one, I think. And this is a guy who went to law school. Absolutely crazy. Let's have a look at the comments below to see what they say. Jimmy Jr. Dance Party says, "This is parental alienation." That's what I was looking for. And if you can, document these instances for when you talk to your lawyer. Him draining joint accounts might also work against him, but definitely consult with a lawyer and bring all this in with you. In the meantime, individual therapists for you and family therapy with the kids. They can help you figure out how to navigate this without doing more damage than your husband has already done. On a personal note, I just want to say how angry I am on your behalf at the absolute audacity and cruelty of your husband to try and sabotage your children's relationship with their mother out of spite, especially after you work your ass off to support him through law school. It's so incredibly selfish, not just towards you, but towards your kids, who are innocent in all this. I hope you can manage to get primary custody and work through this confusing time with them. Curly Locks says, "I'm sure you already have a lawyer. Get a court order that prevents either parent from disparaging the other in front of the children. And then get that gold. He wouldn't be where he is without your help. That is gold you invested in." Zai says, "Lol, I really hope this is real. Breadwinner lawyer has affair with girl nearly half of his age while in position of power. He cleans out the bank accounts and files for divorce at the same time while blatantly committing parental alienation. The judge is going to love this. I'm going to assume that your husband doesn't practice divorce law, have any divorce lawyer friends because they would have told him no, lol. As for the kids, the courts hopefully can put a stop to the alienation. If not, good luck ex with custody. With age and less influenced by the ex, hopefully they come to understand." Now, what do you guys make of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. "My 29 female husband, 32 male, became obsessed with Napoleon, and I worry about his mental health. I want to begin with saying that he did not show any signs of obsession or similar behaviour before. Or at least I did not see it during our marriage of 2 years, plus a relationship of 3 years before. He could be too blunt or lack subtlety sometimes, but generally a very logical man with sound judgment. That was until about 6 to 7 months ago, when I found him watching something on his PC. I asked him what it was, and he said it was a documentary about Napoleon and his life, battles, campaigns, etc. That struck me as odd because he was never interested in history, politics, or this type of thing before. He did not change overnight, but gradually. Over time he started to watch documentaries, videos, and movies about Napoleon more and more frequently. I didn't think anything of it until a parcel arrived at our house. I picked it up as he was at work. The huge cargo was hundreds of books written solely about Napoleon, biographical books, as well as books about his wars, etc. I of course asked him what this was all about, and he shrugged it off, saying that it wasn't a big deal and he just wanted to learn. By this time he was spending almost all of his free time watching Napoleon documentaries, videos, movies, or reading these books. I also saw that the wallpaper on his PC and his phone lock screen, which were previously photos of us together, was changed to paintings of Napoleon. A few days later, another parcel arrived, this time containing huge posters, portraits and paintings of, you guessed it, Napoleon. I was determined to talk to him seriously the next day after work when I arrived home, and I struggled to keep my emotions stable as I came to a house decorated head to toe with Napoleon posters and paintings. All the way from the kitchen to the bedroom, walls and tables were covered. I angrily asked him if he's okay and told him to remove them. He then got overly offended by my remark and acted like I'm in the wrong. I decided to wait until I cooled off, but a week or so passed and we barely even talked to each other. All the while living in a house filled with those posters, as my husband didn't allow me to remove them and got usually angry when I tried to do so. Things came to a breaking point when another parcel arrived, containing useless items like a strange hat, which I'm guessing is a Napoleon hat, a replica sword, strange looking clothing, a pair of tall boots and a bust of Napoleon. I got furious and confronted him. He completely ignored what I said and asked me stuff like, is it legal to own a horse in the backyard? I seriously thought, more like hoped, that he was joking or this whole thing was an elaborate prank, but he kept a serious face all that time. I packed my things and stormed out of the house in a moment of anger. I'm at my parents' house now. Just told them that we had a huge fight. I'm seriously considering divorce as he's no longer the man I once loved for quite some time now. We have no kids if that matters. What should I do? You know, the first half of that story where he was watching documentaries and he was ordering lots of books and stuff, I thought, well, this isn't too far from the way I behave. I'm like, oh god. And I kind of consider it normal. Like, I get obsessed with crime documentaries and stuff. I'm watching Making a Murder at the minute. I'm absolutely obsessed with crime documentaries. I'm sort of the same way. I love reading about it now. I love watching lots of it. But then he started buying the posters and sticking them all over his house. I could maybe understand if he was sticking them up just in his office, but it sounds like he's sticking them up everywhere. And then it got to the end where he's actually ordering the sword and the boots and asking if he can have a horse in the backyard. Seems absolutely crazy. And some might just say like it's a midlife crisis or something like that. But maybe it's something deeper. Maybe like something just snapped in his head and there's some sort of imbalance going on now. I don't know. That's a really strange one. First, let's have a look at some of the comments to see what they say. Moggy Man says, Jesus OP, it sounds like your husband has a complete mental break. I just don't know what else could cause such an obsession to come out of nowhere and completely take over his and your life. I suggest some sort of intervention with his family and friends there because he needs to see some sort of medical professional and it doesn't look like he's going to listen to reason. OP Reply says, yeah, you may be right, but this whole thing is really embarrassing. Like, what am I going to tell the psychiatrist? I couldn't even talk to my own parents about it, let alone telling his parents. AT Vig says, before you go out and file for divorce, are seriously getting looked at by a professional. A change like that can sometimes mean a brain problem, chemical imbalance, tumour, etc. My grandma had a brain tumour and prior to it getting diagnosed, she started doing really bizarre things that were never part of her character. Once it was successfully removed, she didn't remember doing any of those things, and it took her months to correct what she did, as far as what she bought, how she changed the house, what she said to people. OP replies to this again saying, oh, this comment gives me hope. I really want to believe that this can be reversed because I don't want to divorce him, but I'm just too stressed out at this point. Although I don't know how to convince him to acknowledge that he has a problem, let alone see a doctor. Ellie Chillin says, maybe it's just a midlife crisis thing. My father started changing around at this age too all of a sudden, and gained an obsession to motorcycles and started buying jackets for hundreds of dollars and dozens of pigeons at a time, and some weird things I shouldn't even get into. But it could just be a phase or something. But you marry the guy you're supposed to love him through no matter what. Females fall out of love so easy. Atomant says, just change your name to Josephine and let him treat you like an empress. Gone Baby Thought says, has he had any other neurological symptoms? Is he still otherwise functioning? I wonder if he has a brain tumour, honestly. OP replied saying, he seemed generally normal when I asked him regular simple questions like, are you hungry, etc. But I never managed to open up to him about the whole thing. Scourge R says, this is one of the most bizarre and tragic, but also the funniest posts I've seen on this sub for a while. OP, are you sure he's not making an elaborate prank on you like you said? If he's dead serious, then honestly you need to get his family involved, or else you might see him on a horse, wearing a bike-owned hat on his way to Russia. Now this is a bizarre one. The first time I've seen anything like that on Reddit before. But what do you guys think of this story? What do you think's going on? Do you think it is some sort of chemical imbalance or tumor or something like that? Which would be absolutely tragic. Let me know in the comments below. Once again, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's stories. Something a bit different for you. Relationships, you know, occasionally we go there once in a while. I hope you have enjoyed the stories. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to come join us on Discord if you feel like it too. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Much love.